Welcome to User Insights, a podcast series powered by UXArmy.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to a new episode of this podcast with UXArmy, which is a remote user testing platform. And today we have a very insightful episode for all of you, where we dive into the world of design and UX research. So our guest today is Madhumita Gupta, who is the Vice President of Design at Reliance. Welcome, Madhumita, and thank you so much for joining us
today. Thank you so much for inviting. It's a pleasure talking to you.
So, Madhumita has a rich background in design and has a passion for pushing the boundaries of her creativity. Also, she has been instrumental in shaping the design landscape at major companies like Atlassian, Myntra, Global Logic, Philips, to name a few. So today, Madhumita in this episode will be sharing her insights into, managing day-to-day tasks and increasing productivity as a designer, and also how you can achieve that using AI tools. We'll also explore around her strategies for overcoming creative block, and she'll also share some significance of research in design. So we genuinely hope to gain valuable tips by the end of this episode. So whether you're a seasoned designer, a budding creative, or just simply someone who's curious about design and UX research, you're in here for a treat. So Madhumita, over to you now.
Thank you. Maybe I'll just start with a quick intro. So first of all, thank you. Yes, I am currently working with Reliance Retail, but my journey has been quite, I would say, a roller coaster. I call myself a convert. I studied physics and I wanted to be a PhD in physics, but I moved to computer science and I studied in IIT Kharagpur and became an engineer. And then I started my career with Philips as an engineer, as a hardcore software engineer working with hardware products and so on and so forth. But then whatever life's destiny had for me, I moved again and started doing and practicing design, then got educated in it. So started my career from the bottom of the rung of being a designer, and then did everything. In those days, we used to have UX engineers. Then I became a information architect, researcher, lead designer, manager, senior manager, and everything, every rank that you could think of. It's been an amazing 17, 18 years into this field, and I'm constantly trying to learn and rediscover myself.
Right. So that's great to hear, Madhumita. I mean, genuinely, you've done so much in the design industry itself. And, I think it's all the experiences that you gather from working with all these companies and at different positions, which makes you who you are today. So it's accumulation, let's say it's accumulation or amalgamation of all the experiences that you
plus
have.
Learning and mistakes
so Madhumita,
and, getting trained by a lot of people. So
right. Yeah. So Madhumita, as you mentioned, you've been working at different positions, right? From being a team person to, then being a team manager, and then now the vice president. So could you please tell us a bit more about how you go about collaboration within different team dynamics? How do you encourage effective communication and collaboration within your teams?
I'll break this because you're asking me both about collaboration and communication. They go hand in hand, but the reason behind good collaboration is trust. When we know that a team member is coming here with the best of the intent and isn't having any secondary motive, then it's easier for people to contribute, question, challenge, contradict others. But when that psychological safety is not there, when there is this constant worry that, okay, will I be held accountable for what I said, even if it meant for a good reason, then collaboration can break. And the second part is the expectations, right? Most of the time we have a lot of unstated expectations. For example, let's say you are working with a company which is not based out of your location. You're in India, somebody's in the US. Now, the US person might say that, I expect this work to be done because now I'm going to sleep and you will get awake. But does it really take 8 hours or would it take 16 hours or 24 hours? We don't know, right? Only when the work comes, we will evaluate and then we will have hopefully some agreement on the amount of time it takes to finish a job. Similarly, vice versa, right? Somebody from here will say, okay, I'm doing so much of pixel pushing. My counterpart is just doing PowerPoint presentation and strategy. So they should be able to do things faster, which is also not the case. Strategy is hard. So that unstated expectation leads to a lot of failure in communication. So once you have a common purpose, let's say we are all working towards this goal, and in order for us to reach that goal, there are certain expectations that we are, we are going to play for. Then once that clarity is there, automatically collaboration, communication becomes much easier. So I would say trust, expectations, and purpose. These are the key things to be clear.
Right. Yeah, very well said, Madhumita. I think these are the three pillars that you've given us: trust, purpose, and expectations. You also spoke about challenges. There are certain challenges that come in within, building collaboration, communication. So, like, how do you overcome these challenges typically within a team of, say, for a vice president, the team would be larger at a larger scale. So, how do you overcome these challenges? If you could briefly tell us.
Challenges, I look at challenges as stepping stone to set things in a particular order. So, let's say when I came, there was already a team established. So there are some legacy assumptions. People are have a certain ways of working. Now, as a leader, I come and say, hey, I have a lot of experience and I'm going to now set your work in this particular way. That's not fair, right? So you need to have a growth mindset and understand what is working well, what is not working well, what have already been tried. Many times you find a problem and you jump into a solution saying that, okay, this is how you should do it. But maybe they have already tried it and it hasn't worked. So either you have to change the strategy or change the application, whatever, right? But like just discarding everything that is already in-house of a legacy team is absolutely no. That and usually this happens when people start ignoring. If you're starting completely afresh, let's say you're building a team from zero, scratch, then also there is problem because you are not giving birth to new designers. They are coming from different organizations. They have their own legacy, assumptions, hypotheses, ways of working. And when you're bringing them together, here also, they will bring their life. And they'll say, oh, I knew this is how it worked. Like many times I bring leaders. I say, oh, I have led teams in my past organization and I was really successful doing this, which is awesome. But then you have to reevaluate in this company with the context and the constraints that we work. Would that same method work? Probably not. You will probably have to tweak it. The essence will remain the same, but you need to tweak it to your local environment, constraints, and the culture of the company, right? So, irrespective of whether you're starting new or you're inheriting an existing team, first of all, recognize that there is domain knowledge. There is a lot of existing things that you need to ramp up on. Identify the problems, prioritize the problems, and then create a plan. What are the things that you would want to address yourself? Which are the things that you want your stakeholders to help you with? And what are the things that your team should partner and try to address it?
Right. So correct me if I'm wrong, but I think to summarize it, you shouldn't be arrogant enough to, let that get to your head that, okay, I'm the head of this company and I know everything well. Also, at the same time, you should also make sure that if you're a nice person by nature, so people don't take leverage of that. So you should strike a right balance between, being authoritative and
Yeah,
friendly.
I mean, authority comes with your title, right? That anyway you are put in a position of
Right.
power because of everything that you have achieved. So I don't think you should have to work
Right.
even harder to show your authority. That anyway is coming with your title. But as you rightly said, right? I know it all does not work. You have to have confidence in what
Yeah.
you know for sure, and then be humble enough
Right.
to say that okay, there is room to learn more. So ramp me up, let me
Hmm.
understand the situation, and then with my experience I can help you solve certain problems. And not all problems needs to be solved also. Some of them are okay to be solved.
Right. 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 Okay. Great. Moving ahead, Madhumita. So, since you have like multiple hats to wear, that of being a designer, a stakeholder, a team manager. So, like, how do you go about managing your day-to-day tasks
Very good.
since the context
Right,
keeps
right. Yeah,
switching?
I
Yeah.
mean, that is life, right? When you are a hands on designer and you're working only on one project, that is the only context that you will have to focus on. But in general, life of a designer requires a bit of context switching. You are supposed to talk to a product manager or your project manager or your manager or your lead, whatever, right? So, a little bit of work outside of your own laptop anyway comes with the job role. But
Hmm.
at a leadership level, context switching uh, is is expected, right? Like when you move from one meeting to another meeting,
Hmm.
you're supposed to understand why, what is being told in that meeting, what is the expectation of you, what inputs people are seeking from you. So context switching gets hard.
Right.
So you need to have some focused time for yourself to assimilate all the information that you're getting. Ideally, between meetings, if you have a little time, making notes. So right now, this is where AI is really helping me solve
Hmm.
some of the problems. But essentially, you need to structure your day. Like I start my day with a to-do list. What am I going to do?
Okay.
Small, and then I start categorizing them. Is it something is urgent?
Hmm.
Basically, needs 5 minutes of my time, so I'll just work on it. And then, which is like now, then there are like next. So they're maybe a little more time consuming, but they're still urgent enough that I need to focus on it today. And then nevers. Never means I don't have to
Right.
work on it. Somebody else should. So delegate it.
Hmm.
Right? Once I have that structure, then
Hmm.
I spend a little time, maybe reply to an
Hmm.
email or a chat or something. Those are like nows. Next are, okay, I have to make some presentations or I have to read some documents or I have to review somebody's work. And, nevers definitely help so that I can just make my team empowered to do things so I don't become a bottleneck, right? So prioritization really helps.
Hmm.
And clear communication, expectations.
Hmm.
If I'm able to do something,
Hmm.
I say I will do it. If I can't, it's you don't become a bad person when you say no, because you would have an alternative, right? Like
Right.
I can't do it now, maybe
Hmm.
somebody else will do it for me, or I'm not the right person here, talk to someone else. Or you will say that I just don't have bandwidth, maybe I'll come back after a week or so, right? So
Right.
saying no also helps.
Right. Okay. So, Madhumita, since you mentioned about like leveraging, AI, could you please tell us a bit more about any specific AI tools or strategies which you recommend for time management and, managing your projects and prioritizing your
So, I
work?
mean, every day there are so many new tools which are coming up. Because I work in a corporate, we
Right.
have to be careful on data privacy and ethics and all that. So, we cannot just
Hmm.
go and play and adopt any tool which is available in the market. Having said that, I personally love Grammarly. I It really helps me be more concise, especially when, an email or a document is going out to a large audience. I don't have to worry about spellings and grammars and the tone and all that. So Grammarly is definitely helping a lot.
Right.
I use Bard a lot for basic data like secondary research. Okay, I want to know the total number of customers available in the online market of US. I don't really have to go and look for a Forrester or somewhere else. Bard will give it to me. So I just have to get better at prompt engineering. So I'm getting trained on writing good prompts for prompt engineering. So the better you are at giving the instructions, Bard replies well. Bard is now like Gemini. And then I use sometimes Tome. Tome is an app which helps create presentations. So when you have an outline in mind, like, the first draft that you're making, and doesn't have to be perfect, but the time that is spent on creating those outline, that you can ask an AI to do. And then you get some ideas and then you make yours. Microsoft PowerPoint Designer is pretty neat. So it kind of works within our, we have PowerPoint templates. So it works within us, the colors and everything they will manage. So combination of Tome and product designer or Microsoft PowerPoint Designer helps. I use Stable Diffusion because it's free for generating images that I need, but in general, we buy from Adobe Stock AI generated images for our product. But if there is a blog or some presentations that it's not commercialized, then I Stable Diffusion.
Right.
Midjourney, DALL-E, they are all there. But somehow I like Stable Diffusion.
Yeah.
So not too many, but enough to run my thing. But in terms of prioritization, Notion is doing well. There are a lot of templates. .ai is coming. They help in summarizing, creating abstract. So Notion.ai is also something which I sometimes use.
Yeah. So, since you mentioned about Notion, we also use Notion for like documenting our research work, and it feels like it's a very useful tool, especially with the new features that they're coming up with, giving you suggestions, and then on the basis of your previous usage history, all of that it is very helpful for us.
Pretty well, so that's helpful.
Yeah, right. And since we're talking about tools, and UXArmy itself is also a tool which enables you to run remote user research. So can you please share your thoughts on the importance of user research in design? Why you feel it is crucial for like designers to like imbibe research in their design process, and how does it overall contribute?
That's a very interesting question, and I feel that today, research is only used for discovery. So you've thought of an idea and you are initially doing the research to understand whether that is the right set of problems to look at, or at the end when you have already filled out the solutions and you're testing, usability testing, right? There are like two extremes of the UX entire flow. But a designer should use research, both primary and secondary, to defend themselves, right? So when you're designing, and one of the primary job of a designer is to ensure that they are able to defend their design, because it's so subjective and you're not the user.
Right.
And somebody can come and say that, oh, I think this is how it should be. Or I think the purple looks better because it's my favorite color. How do you counter those kind of subjective opinions? That's where research helps, because you can say that I have spoken to 10 users and my users are, let's say, colorblind. Half of them are colorblind. It doesn't matter whether you're doing purple or pink. What matters is the contrast, right? And our brand colors are giving this contrast, and hence we should go about it. Then it is much easier for you to convince someone. But without that research, you will not be able to make those kind of defending facts. So research should be not
Right.
just talking to 4 or 5 customers. It should be both paired with secondary research, primary research, and over a period of time. So it's not like I got a project, now I'm going to do research. Not that. Plan. Like if you're a product designer, for sure you should continuously research. In a service company, it's slightly harder, but then you should ask your client to help you with some data about users, because you are not the
Right.
user and you are not with a solution that works for you.
Right.
You have to. If that was it, we will be all artists. Artists create things for themselves, right? But we are designers. We solve problems for others who we are not those others. So that's where research comes. So don't use it as a tool to just validate on both the ends, but use it for your own
Right.
your own confidence.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that there is certain, every designer has a unique process, their own design process. You can't go by what's written in the book for all. I mean, of course, there are thousands of frameworks like the double diamond framework and so many others that you talk about. But I think what's important is that you should make sure that research or like validation from users or, trying to map their expectation from your design is done at each step, so that you don't have to go through that circle all over again, that okay, I've reached the final stage, now it's not working, so how do I start from scratch? So I think then that becomes a tedious process for
Absolutely.
the designer
And
also.
the cost of change, cost of bringing
Right.
any impact becomes very high. And as you rightly said, right, not all problem needs to be tested. Some problems you are so confident you just go about and do it, right? Not everything tested. Double diamond will follow how
Right.
big the diamond is will depend on how ambiguous your problem statement is. So if your problem statement is small and you have very high confidence that this is like it's an incremental change, you don't need to test. You just go with your gut. But when it is ambiguous and you're trying something new, different, the mental model that people are used to, there definitely you should do multiple researches.
Right. Okay. So yeah, lastly, Madhumita, I think everything has been, the whole conversation has been great. You've given some really great insights. We touched upon every point from, overcoming creative blocks, communication, research. I think, I don't think we've left anything. But yeah, lastly, I would want you to just share some advice for aspiring designers, how they can enhance their skills and stay competitive in this industry.
Yeah, I would love to. My first and foremost request to all of you who are aspiring to be designers or already are into this field is to make sure your foundations are very strong. See, it's very easy to learn a tool, and today with AI coming, the tool becomes very irrelevant. You need to know why to use a tool, when to use a tool, and that's the foundational knowledge. I know it's almost like, okay, I know how to make a biryani by putting rice and some vegetables, or if you're a meat person, you put meat and a biryani will be ready. That is not how you make biryani, right? There's so many ways of making biryani. You will have to tweak it based on the mood, the people that you're feeding, so on and so forth. So foundation is very crucial. Second is tinkering, right? You might have 5 years of experience, 17 years of experience, 21 years of experience, but there is always something new coming, new mental model, new customer behavior, new problems to solve. So you need to constantly tinker, try your hand at different things, be it a new tool or understanding a new pattern, reading something that somebody has done. Like, I mean, recently I'm very intrigued. You must have seen in YouTube that in order for you to refine your preference, they're giving you colors. They're saying, choose the color and we will give you recommendations. I'm sure that would have come out from some research. Some behavioral scientists would have done some research and created that people like a certain color unconsciously, and they're testing that. So these kind of things, like finding people's preference and not boring them, is an age-old problem. right? And that's how you have to constantly
Right.
innovate. So make sure you're tinkering, you're trying out new things, and then asking for help, right? You don't have to do it all. You don't have to learn everything. You don't have to read every book. You don't have to learn every tool. Join a community, talk to some seniors, or make yourself a peer support group to practice, discuss, formulate, brainstorm. So seek help. Today, a lot of people put a lot of pressure on themselves that, oh, I have to be the best in the world. That definition is a moving target.
Right.
You might get best at something, by then the target has moved up. Then somebody is better than you, right? So
Right.
build a strong support system, community, whatever it takes. Seek help, keep learning, stay humble.
Right. Yeah, right. Otherwise, you just end up becoming a king of nothing and jack of everything.
Yeah.
So I think that yeah, and you shouldn't be afraid of being average.
It's okay
I think because not everybody in the industry can be a leader or reach that
Even
position,
as a leader,
right?
I
So
am
I mean,
not
it's
good
okay
at many things, and it's okay. You just have to live with it, and you just hire those smart people who will fill in the gaps that you have in your career. And definitely, I'm not a great illustrator. I'm a great at something, right? I'm good at strategy. I'm good at leadership, but I'm not good in illustration. I'm not good in video creation. So what? But there are many talented designers and people who are motivated to do that. Hire them, make them part of you, and then become better together.
Right. All right. I think lastly, thank you so much, Madhumita, for sharing your insights and expertise on all of these subjects. I think the session would be truly enlightening for anybody who listens to it, and definitely it's going to add immense value to our podcast as well.
Thank you so much. You've asked such brilliant questions, and I've enjoyed answering. And I love the fact that you have added your inputs, which is why it's no longer just a dialogue, but more of a conversation. So I've enjoyed that a lot. So thank you for doing that.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for taking your time and sharing your experience and wisdom with us. We definitely look forward to collaborate with you for another episode, maybe where we touch on more points and discuss about something else. So thank you. Thank you so much for your time, Madhumita.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of User Insights. We hope you gained valuable insights from our conversation.